Welcome back to Bleav in Softball, presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Jenna, and however you got here today, whether you downloaded the audio version on Apple, Spotify, etc., or you're watching the video on YouTube, thank you and welcome. Subscribe and rate the show wherever you get your pods. You can follow us on Instagram and X at Bleav in Softball. That's BLEAV. And there's merch. Click the link in our bio on either page or go to shop.bleav.com to purchase 3 different shirts for you, covering our bases, safer out, and catch you soon. All right, let's go through today's batting order. First, we will cover our bases. I'm going to share some call-outs. Then we'll head into today's interview with Karlyn Pickens. She's the number 1 pitcher for the number 1 team in the country right now, and she is a senior looking to take the Lady Vols to the Women's College World Series again. I spoke with her early in the season, and since then I got to see her in person in Clearwater. Just this week, the school announced that she had an arm strain and is day-to-day, but good news is she will be back soon. So I'm excited, as I'm sure you all are. Then we'll bring it home and wrap up with some final thoughts. All right, let's go. Covering our bases. We're back with FanDuel, America's number 1 sportsbook. They have a little bit of almost everything when it comes to sports betting. And coming off the Winter Olympics, there is plenty still on deck. And for women's sports specifically, I mean, if you're still fired up about the women's hockey gold medal, take a look at the PWHL. If you've been glued to the unrivaled season on the pro side, hey, March Madness is here for NCAA women's basketball, just to name a few. So no matter what you're into, there's something for you. Check out all FanDuel has to offer, from same game parlays and more. Because we believe in softball and we believe in FanDuel. And the past couple of weeks have been extra fun. For week 3, I actually got to do a variety of things. First, I called the Texas-Stanford top 10 matchup back in the new stadium and got to do some post-game interviews with Katie Stewart and Tegan Cavan for D1 softball. I will say it seems like Texas is just in the zone right now. Both of them in our conversations really came across like they're very much living in the present and in the moment, despite the high expectations that are now in the program. I should have asked them. I asked Tegan, I was like, the only thing harder than winning a national championship is doing it again, but she was not fazed. And that's the vibe I'm getting from them. So they're going to be fun to watch, as they always have been. And I also got to talk with past guest Mike Candrea, because Arizona was in town for that tournament at Stanford too. I was supposed to call their game against the Cardinal, but that ended up getting postponed. But I did still get to chat with him, and it was just great to hear about all of the things he's still doing for the program, for the University of Arizona, and just women's sports as a whole. At Mary Nutter, I was there in person for D1 softball, and the tournament is twice as big, really, as the Clearwater Invitational. There are 30 teams. There were almost 80 games played, which is pretty insane. I was there specifically the last 2 days, on Saturday and Sunday, solo, and I got to do interviews with 11 teams from 5 different conferences. Highly recommend you check those out on the D1 Softball social channels. I got to talk to some of the most impactful players and coaches in our sport right now. I mean, one from the Big 12 was Nigeri Kennedy from Texas Tech. Nothing more needed to say there. One from the Big West with head coach Kendall Fern from Long Beach State after they upset OU. 4 from the Big 10, Alina Garcia from UCLA, Amari Harper from Oregon, Alexis DeBoer from Washington, and Lauren Kamenzind from Nebraska. And then a few from the SEC as well. Ella Parker from Oklahoma, Destiny Rodriguez from Auburn, and Ariana Rodi from South Carolina, plus 2 from the WCC. Head coaches Taraya Flowers from LMU and St. Mary's head coach Sonia Garnett. So just, again, the insight that they all provide is incredible. Getting to see some past guests of the show too, like Taraya Flowers, but also Lindsey Grine. Got to see her in person. And people I've interviewed for D1 in the past. Ella Parker was on the podcast. And then Alina Garcia, we actually talked right before she got injured last year in her freshman year. And she remembered every detail. And then I got to talk to her after she walked it off against South Carolina. So always really special to be able to connect in person. I also got to watch number 1 Team Japan in person. The number 1 team in the world. I saw Yukiko Ueno pitch at Mary Nutter as they were going on their tour, playing against a bunch of college teams. And I met her after the last game of the weekend. It was a really cool moment for me, just as somebody who loves the game and who watched as a young girl. I watched her win gold with the team in 2008 and in Tokyo. She's in her 40s now and she is still going. She threw really hard then. She's increased her movement as she's gotten older as well, and just the longevity she has. Incredible. So very, very special, just on a personal level. And some observations about the top team in the world. Ueno still got it. I'm not surprised. I don't think anyone is by that. Goto, who was a big part of the gold medal run in Tokyo, she's dirty. Goto has movement, and it was cool to see that in person too in the circle. They're fast. They are really fast. They're aggressive. You expect that kind of thing from the best team, but it was really cool to see it in person. And just their gratitude and respect for the game is apparent. And you all know when you've listened in and we've talked to guests who have played professionally in Japan, for example, they talk about how well they treat the game. That was really obvious. And, they lined up on the field to thank the fans after they played. They took photos with the team that they played against every time, signing autographs, just class acts. So getting to see them, and then, of course, just more people in person who follow this podcast, D1 softball, or my broadcast, it doesn't matter. It's always rewarding to connect, and seeing all of the young fans and how excited they are to meet their idols and get to see softball like this, it never gets old. So that was a big week 3 of the season. In week 4 just passed, I called the Fresno State Stanford baseball series opener, and it was a good one. It was a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th for the Cardinal after back and forth battling throughout the entire game. Some of the most fun types of games to call. So not a bad way to start off baseball season for me. And this was after they hosted Waseda University from Japan earlier in the week too. So getting to see sort of that tie in the diamond sports for both softball and baseball with the US and Japan was pretty sweet. It's pretty cool. I also got to have a slight break, a much needed break from being on site in the preseason, and I could just lock in and watch softball. So we talk about this actually in the D1 softball podcast this week, but one of the coolest things to see is at the Judy Garman tournament, 5 U.S. Olympians were coaching. So they took a photo together, as they should, because there's so much represented in it. But it included Crystal Bustos, Triya Flowers, Lisa Fernandez, the GOAT, Laura Berg, and Jenny Topping. They're all former teammates with Team USA. There's 10 gold medals between them. And every single Olympics that softball has been in is represented by them in some capacity. Even Tokyo, Laura Berg was on the coaching staff. But honestly, in addition to that, something that was cool is just the colleges they represented with their alma maters. 2 power conferences, 2 mid-majors, and 1 junior college. So just to see the different paths that they took, and yet they all became Olympic gold medalists, and most of them national champions. So I've also interviewed 4 out of 5 here on the show. Crystal Bustos is the last one, so stay tuned because I think we got to at some point. But anyway, we break it down even further on the latest D1 softball podcast. It's the win of the week on the show, so check that out. And speaking of, there are a couple new episodes out. So we interviewed Virginia Tech pitcher Emma Mazzarone last week, and then the latest this week is with All-American outfielder Dakota Kennedy from Arkansas. So check those out. You can find it on D1 Softball's YouTube or just whatever audio platform you use to get your pods. And then, of course, following D1 Softball on X and Instagram to stay in the know always helps. Coming up, I'm going to be focused on broadcasting the next couple of weekends. So I will be calling the Pitt and Stanford softball series Friday and Sunday this weekend, and then the Notre Dame series at Stanford Friday and Saturday next weekend. So on the other days of those weekends, I'm going to be calling women's gymnastics. So this weekend on Saturday, it's UCLA and Stanford on March 7th, and then Boise State and Stanford the following Sunday for Senior Day. And I love this because I'm fired up in general to cover and elevate women's sports. As much as I don't want to miss softball, it's for a good cause, right? So we're fresh off the Winter Olympics in Milan. I think gymnastics fans are still thinking about Paris 2024, for example. And if you were following gymnastics in that Olympics, you know about the bronze medal controversy. The Romanian gymnast who was ultimately awarded the bronze medal on floor is Ana Barbosu. She's a freshman at Stanford. And then the U.S. gymnast Jordan Childs, who initially thought she won the medal, is a senior at UCLA. This is still very much an ongoing legal battle. But really, this UCLA team, they're back-to-back Big Ten regular season champs. Stanford has already secured a share of the ACC title and are reigning tournament champions from last year. Former conference foes, two schools in the country with the most national championships overall are these two. It's just a lot of drama and excitement that go along with the sports. So I'm excited to cover that and just excited to get going in conference play for softball, where the rivalries thrive. Someone else getting started with conference play is today's guest. Let's head into the interview. She's the Tennessee Ace, a consensus All-American, two-time SEC Pitcher of the Year, one of the latest members of the USA Women's National Team, North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, and world record holder for fastest pitch thrown, Karlyn Pickens. Karlyn, thank you for joining, and hopefully, that wasn't too long of an intro for you.
No, it was perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, super excited to chat with you. I don't know if I told you this before, but I've actually had your former teammate Kiki Malloy on the show.
Awesome.
Yes, so I'm happy to have a little bit more Lady Vol love, and then Monica Abbott too, who I know that you know well.
Yeah, two great legends.
Yes, so in great company, but excited to have you on this time around.
Awesome.
So early on in the season, of course, when we're getting a chance to chat, but just being a senior, this year, what is it? Has it been any different? I'll ask versus the rest of your career so far.
Yeah, I would say definitely taking on some different roles this year as far as leadership goes and stuff like that. Also, just kind of a different feel, when you go out and play. And I've had that experience. And, it's not my first time going up against, top 10 teams and, first preseason tournaments, all those firsts. It's like, okay, I've done this before. So it's just a little bit more, I have more experience, I guess.
Yes, which is a good thing for sure. And
yeah,
being a leader on the team, you get to be that example for the younger ones as well on your team, and then even just young girls watching and playing. I know you take that, you've said, very seriously too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's such a blessing with the role I'm put in, having a platform where I get to, go out and do what I love and play softball, but also like, it's the best thing in the world after a game, win or lose. Those little girls are just so excited to see you, and that's something that I don't take for granted, and I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah, and I know that you were one of those little girls, and you talked about how you looked up to Jennie Finch, for example. Now that you have some of that responsibility, you've gotten a taste of maybe what Jennie felt, at least in the collegiate years so far. Do you look at it any differently, or is it just even more special?
Yeah, I would just say it's very full circle is the best way I put it. I come from a small town where like sports was a big thing growing up and stuff. I was that little girl that would get excited about, playing different sports, and now I'm in a role where I can shine a light on female sports as well and just show, everyone who comes to games or camps, whatever that may be, how special it is, and hopefully be a role model of what sports should look like and not put all the pressure and just keep it fun. That's my thing is like softball's supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to have joy when you play. I always say play with joy, so that's what I try and embody.
It's such a tough balance to have that joy, but then also maintain the competitiveness that you naturally have. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely times where it slips, where you are so fired up, you're competing out there, and you catch yourself being a little too like, okay, I need to calm down right here. Like I'm getting a little too worried about the game. Like I need to still have fun. But then, like you said, it's definitely finding a balance. And I think the easiest way to do that is to just compete, but then also like you're right there with your teammates. Like you're celebrating everyone else's successes. And then, when you do get that big strikeout or that, someone hits that home run, it's just like, oh, it's like even better. Like when you're just all celebrating each other.
That's a not underrated, maybe underrated, I think, aspect that you see with just elite competitors like you. It's not just the individual, like yourself, that you are pushing, but you are thinking about the people around you a lot. I know you've said that's important.
Yeah, for sure. And I think any team that wants to win a national championship, like that has to be the main focus. It's not about individual success or goals. It's about, okay, how can we take one group and like be so connected and so just like all bought into the same thing. I think that's something special if you can learn how to do that.
Yeah. It is special, and it's you're right. Not everyone can. Not every team is like that, and that's what the difference maker is.
Yeah.
But, individually, of course, you have had some of these accolades, right? I think last year people were so excited about you being the fastest throwing pitcher in history. Not once, but twice. That's the cool part, too. The 78.2 miles an hour first, and then the 79.4 miles an hour. What do
Mhm.
you think? Do you think we're going to break 80 this year?
Yeah, I've been asked that a lot. I think there's so many factors that goes into it. Like even I will say like in practice and bullpens, you're not going to see those top 77, 78 mile an hour numbers. And it's like even then when the numbers that I did break the record, it was against, Brie Ellis and Jordy Ball, right? So you could tell like the adrenaline is definitely a huge part of that. So some things are going to need to fall in place this year for it to happen, but I definitely think it's possible.
For sure. And I like the way that you approach it too, where you're like, you're building to it, right? Like you're doing what you should do that's in front of you, and you know that okay, you'll get there eventually. It's like hitters, right? We don't swing for the fence every swing, but the
Exactly.
home runs come, and I feel like you've done a nice job of that just from the pitching side.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you brought up the adrenaline because yes, it's like of course it was Brie Ellis and Jordy Ball,
Right.
all people.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense for sure. And like you said too, like if I try and like throw hard, it's like it's not happening. Like it has to just be, genuine, natural, like just out there competing kind of thing.
Right, right. But the thing is you also throw a ton of innings. So you're throwing hard, but you throw
Mhm.
a lot of innings. You've had over 500 innings pitched in your career. And I looked it up, almost 227 just last year. So, from a
Wow.
taking care of yourself perspective, how do you sort of
Mhm.
manage your body and then maintain that endurance?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think there's two sides of it. And one is like how you prepare, pre-practice and games and stuff, which is, having good sleep, eating well, hydrating, the big three, I think are like if you're not doing those things, then it doesn't matter what you're doing, recovery wise. So I prioritize that a lot. And then I think just with our strength and conditioning that we do in the preseason and then in season, I think is super important for me. We do a little bit of running in the fall and stuff, which I think has always been helpful. Like when I was in high school, I played basketball and stuff, and I always felt strong going into softball season because I had been doing so much running in basketball season.
Mm,
So I think that also plays a part, just like making sure your body's in shape. But yeah.
that's another thing that I love about you is that you were a multi-sport athlete because you played
Mhm.
basketball and volleyball. Um,
Yeah,
do you feel like playing multiple sports has now made you a better softball player?
absolutely. Yeah. All of my camps and stuff, I always encourage the girls go play other sports, don't just settle on one thing. And I do think, not only does it help you from a athletic standpoint of being able to like play different sports and, work different muscles and, go laterally, whichever directions it is, but I also think that having a separation, each year, I'm focused on softball. Okay, softball's over now. I'm focused on basketball, volleyball, whatever it is. I think it just kind of keeps your brain from, being burnt out from softball. Like, especially when, you start out at a young age and that's all you're doing all the way until college. Like, it can be very, like, repetitive. So I think having a balance of different things where you're still competing and still having fun, but then when softball season comes around, it's like, oh, I've been waiting so long for it.
Yes, yes. From that like mental and emotional standpoint, even physically, I would think that
Yeah.
your body felt a little bit more balanced to not overusing the same, pitching motion over and over only all year round.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with basketball, like I said, like getting to, work on the running and jumping. I think that kind of it correlates in a way to softball as well when it comes to pitching because, you're being explosive off the mound, kind of jumping towards the catcher in a way. And then volleyball, overhand swinging, that like all of it kind of ties together. And I think if you can do it all, then go for it.
Yeah. If you didn't end up pursuing softball, which sport do you think you might have pursued longer term?
I think it would have been volleyball. My mom played volleyball in college. She played at Mars Hill. It's a university outside where I live. And yeah, I love volleyball. I would love just to slam it down. Like it's a very fun sport, I will say.
I remember playing when I first learned how to play, as a young kid in like middle school. I remember
Hmm.
so many people doing, underhand serves when they were first learning. But I don't know if you were this
Yeah.
way, but as a softball player, of course, you're a pitcher, so you're throwing underhand a ton. But I was like, actually, I think the overhand serve is easier. It feels more like a throw to me.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. When I first started out, I was like, okay, I feel like I've done this motion before. It definitely kind of came quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Volleyball is really becoming one of my, probably outside of softball, of course, like for broadcasting, for
Hmm.
example, one of my favorites to do. Um,
Yeah,
I feel like I see a lot of similarities just in just the growth of the sport to softball, actually, how quick it's growing, the
yeah,
coverage increasing, all of those things.
definitely. It was cool. And when they played on the Nebraska field, the football field, that was awesome. Yeah.
So cool. We got to get more softball teams to do stuff like that because that was
I
awesome.
know, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, I think, I mean, how cool would that be if you could do that in Knoxville?
For sure. Yeah. Play on Neyland.
Yeah,
Don't know how they'd figure that out, but
but
maybe we
somehow.
can make it happen.
I trust them to figure it out.
Yeah.
But because you're such an athlete too, obviously you were a hitter as well prior to your time at Tennessee. Do you ever miss it?
Yeah, my dad talks about it a lot. He's like, "Oh, I wish you could go back and get the bat in your hands." Blah blah blah. I will say there's moments where like I see all the hitters, doing on-field BP, and I'm like, want to get out there and give a hack or two. But um, at the end of the day, I think I made that decision because I actually did go into college hitting. Like my
Yeah.
freshman year in the fall, I was fully on board with like, okay, I'm gonna do both. And then after like a few weeks, I was like, okay. And I had a talk with Karen. I basically was like, I want to be really good at pitching, and I think the best way to do that is to just put all of my eggs in one basket and stick with that. And I think it's worked out. So
Yeah, I think just a little bit.
yeah, but I do miss it for sure.
I like hearing that thought process though, because it's whatever's right for the person. I mean,
Yeah.
we love seeing athletic two-way players and that kind of thing, but like what is right for you to be the best that you can be and
Hmm.
that you're comfortable with. And so I think it's important
Yeah,
for young ones to
definitely.
hear that, let that you went through that
Definitely.
thought process.
Yeah, definitely. Wasn't the easiest decision, but
Yeah. But having hit in the past, I'm sure gives you some of that insight as a pitcher where you're like, okay, I kind of know what they might be thinking here and there, and you still have a little bit of that
Mhm.
advantage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I know you've talked so highly of your experience at Tennessee in particular, and you've talked about why you've been loyal, and
Mhm.
because you've gotten out of it so much and you've put into it so much as well. But what do you think it is about Tennessee in particular that was just so right for you?
Yeah. I think, excuse me, there's a lot of things that go into why Tennessee is just so special to me. One, just the coaching staff here, they've poured so much into me, just developing me as a player. I think, the growth that I've seen in myself, not only on the field, but also just as a woman, like, you know, just the confidence that, Karen instills in us on like, okay, she's going to leave us like whenever we graduate and go on with our lives. Like, not only are we going to be some killer softball athletes, but we're going to be some bosses like in the real world. So I think that that's something that is so special. And, not only with the coaching staff, but also just like the community and everything that I have here. It's amazing. You got the grocery store and, little girls are running up. Like, it's so special. And, I want to continue doing camps and stuff like that and, still be a face in softball. And I think that my people are here and I would never want to leave that. And I just love being a Lady Ball. I think what it stands for, it's great, with Pat Summit and all the legacy that she left, and just instilling what it means to be a Lady Ball, I think is important to uphold that tradition.
I feel like I saw you just reminded me of the Summit Blue that you guys also get to
Hmm.
to wear in your uniforms and things. But I saw the glove that you picked out, you in the senior class this year with the orange
Hmm.
and the Summit Blue. That is a pretty cool thing and unique to the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, it's definitely really it's awesome. Get to share that color it has such a great story. I don't know if you've heard the story, but they got to pick, the boys had their orange and white uniforms and the basketball team was stuck with like the random blue jerseys. And then so it kind of stuck, and it's just something that is very unique to us and the Lady Vols, and I think it's really special, and we hold on to that.
Definitely. And that's the other thing about the experience in collegiate athletics is that sort of athletic department across the board that you get to be a part of. Obviously, the softball program, but there's that community in itself too within
Mhm.
that group. It's a special thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see it like when you come to games, like people are some diehard fans. We have what we call the locos, and they go to the basketball games, softball, literally every sporting event for the Lady Vols, and they just are their biggest fans. They cheer us on. They'll meet us at the clubhouse when we get back from a late game on the road. Like they're all in. It's great.
There's nothing quite like that, too. Like you
Yeah.
said it, the little girls who come and talk to you after, probably the best thing. But
Mhm.
having diehard fans like that are just there for you, it's so
Yeah,
great.
it's awesome.
Yeah. But for how much, gear that you get, how much orange do you think you own in your closet?
Oh gosh. I have so I try to keep it separate. So my closet, I like put all my normal clothes in, and then I have just like this giant like tub of all of my Tennessee stuff. Like it's never ending, truly.
How often?
And then by the time you become a senior, it's like you don't even it's like more of a hassle almost to just go through all of it. I'm like just stuck with the I'll just wear the like last year's stuff. I don't even want to fill with it.
It's so
But
true.
yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, champagne problem, right?
Right.
But how much do you wear your regular clothes, do you think, on a day-to-day basis? Or are you pretty much living in your Tennessee gear?
Yeah. Well, I'm partnered with New Balance too, so
Yes.
I like to wear my New Balance stuff anytime I can, outside of, in Tennessee stuff. So it's literally either Tennessee or New Balance.
As it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to be comfortable and like ready to roll no matter what you want to
Yeah,
do.
for sure.
I feel like every time I watch a game, so I've never been to Knoxville in person. I would love to, but every time I even watch a game on TV, Rocky Top plays 5 million times, during
Yeah.
your games. Do you ever get tired of it, or does it not get old to you?
Never gets old. It never gets old. I love it. I think it's just so fun. I think, and especially just as like a competitive side, like I'm thinking in my head, like if I'm an opposing team and I'm hearing Rocky Top over and over again, like that's gotta somehow like annoy you just a little bit. Like, so that's the part that I love so much about it. I think it's just fun for me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, anything that helps you and annoys the other team, perfect. That's the dream.
Yeah. Yep. That's a lot of what softball is. It's just how can we annoy the other team?
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not wrong about that. That's funny. I mean, some of the cheers too can get pretty creative. Do you have any favorites that you and the team do?
Oh gosh. We used to be pretty big on like our more chirpy cheers, but here recently I think we haven't been like doing as many of like the rehearsed cheers as much. It's more of just like screaming and yelling and like whoever's up to bat, we're like gonna be like screaming their name and stuff. So I think that just as much is useful as the rehearse little cheers.
Yeah, it's just whatever
Yeah.
moves you in the moment and
Yeah,
your team.
for sure.
Who do you think on the team is the most hyped when cheering on others?
Ooh, let's see. We have a lot of cheerleader, like really like enthusiastic girls. I would say the first one that comes to mind is Emma Clark. Like that girl's always just like high energy. And then Maddie Rutan, she's a competitor too. Like she's real loud, screaming, yelling. So I'll go with those two. Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And one thing that I also like to see is one of my favorite things to see actually is when pitchers cheer each other on. Like when the other one's out there, for
Yeah.
example, they're going nuts
Hmm.
in the dugout for whatever might be happening in the moment. What are the
Yeah.
vibes like in the Tennessee bullpen?
We are besties, honestly. Like we are just like attached at the hip at all times. It's kind of funny. Like in practice, obviously we are involved in every single drill because the defense has to do stuff and the pitchers are usually off to the side a lot of the times. And it's like we're just attached at the hip. We're always talking about pitching or whatever it is, just checking in on each other. And I think that's also what makes us so strong is just because, not only are we competitors and want to be on the field, but we're also like each other's best friends. And I think that makes us 10 times better.
And you all chose a role that has a lot of responsibility, a lot of attention, and even a lot of pressure
Mhm.
at times. There's a circle around pitchers
Yeah.
for a reason, we say, right? Because it's so
Yeah.
unique. what did make you fall in love with pitching initially?
Yeah. I would say from a young age, like I'm going back to my like 8U, 10U like years. I think I just loved having the ball in my hands. I wanted to be involved with every play because I grew up, playing basketball where it's like, give me the ball, I'll steal it, run down the court. And so I wanted to just like have a little bit of that control, I think. And it stuck. And I think now, like when it's at a different level, it's like, okay, like I have to get the ball every time. Like, and I love that opportunity and just that responsibility of like, okay, I got it. Like, put the pressure on me. I'll take care of business.
Would you say that you thrive under pressure?
Yeah, I would say it's something that you like adapt to, like in a way. Like it's like I remember my freshman year, moments would feel really, really big and heavy. And then whereas now it's like, oh, I feel like I've done this a million times. It's not as like um doesn't feel as big. So I think that's definitely something that you learn how to, perform well under pressure. But yeah, I would say now as a senior for sure, definitely something I strive for.
How much did you, in a general sense, and do you still work on your mental game specifically?
Mhm. I would say in a way, probably every day, because we really, prioritize, visualizing and, if we have a big tournament, like for this tournament that we have coming up, we'll visualize like walking on the field, who are we playing, like who's starting, that kind of thing. And I think, kind of having those visual mental reps, it's like, okay, you've already done it. So you're already putting yourself in those shoes. And then as far as, just pitching specifically, I think having a routine is so huge. And that's something that, like, if you're not doing that every day, like in practice and in games, then it's like, okay, when it comes to crunch time and you're actually in a game and, stuff goes wrong, then you're gonna try and fall back on your routine. If you haven't done it, then it's like, oh gosh, I can feel the pressure right now. So I think the routine for me is like a huge thing. Like no matter what happens after the pitch, like I go back and I do my routine, I reset, and then I'm good to go.
Do you have some superstitions that are kind of built into that too?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would call it a superstition, but I definitely have things that like I would do before a pitch, whether it's, grabbing my rosin or even just like looking at my team and, pointing at my defense, like, hey, we got this, just like kind of vocal things like that. Um, but not like any like fun. I wish I had like a fun superstition, but I really don't.
That's okay. You still have your routine. It's like the same concept. It's just
Yeah,
not as quirky
it
and
is.
maybe sometimes extreme that we are.
Yeah, not as extreme.
Yeah, it can get kind of crazy. Are you one of those people who like doesn't step on the chalk lines and like pays attention to all those little things, or are you like I have too much to worry about?
Yeah, I'm a little on what you said or last. Yeah, I don't. I think I guess I'm just not really thinking about those things. Like especially like before a game, I'm more worried about like just pitching.
Yeah.
Honestly, I try and keep it simple. I don't try and stress myself out over a line.
It's stressful enough, right? Like
Yeah,
we got to make it easier on ourselves as we can, but that's not always easy to do.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do love hearing all of the girls like superstitions that they have. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I think it comes out with hitting too. Like when they're like, "All right, it's time for
Yeah.
us to, get the bats going or
Hmm.
whatever it is." And yeah, it gets funny
Yeah,
for sure. Our sport's funny sometimes.
it is. It is a funny
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah. And it can be difficult. We talk all the time, especially on the hitting side, really about how much failure there is in the sport that we chose and the sport that we love.
Yeah.
And from a pitching perspective, I mean, especially when you're throwing so much, you're a senior, people have film on you, right? Like people are studying how to go up
Yeah.
against you. So how do
Hmm.
you sort of think through that or kind of clear that noise, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, something you have to deal with as a pitcher, knowing that, people have film on me, people have seen me before. And I think what's cool and what me and Megan, my pitching coach, have done throughout the years is it kind of has felt like there's been one thing that we've added to my game every year. And I think that has been really like the difference maker for me. Um, and not, just being that same pitcher they've seen last year. Like, what's one thing that I can do to elevate my game that they're not going to be prepared for? And I think that kind of goes with having that growth mindset of like, okay, I'm not just going to accept that I had, a good year last year, so I don't need to change anything. Like, I'm always striving to have another one up on the opposing team. And I think that's something that everyone can do.
Yeah. And I won't make you, necessarily give away what you've upped your game with this year for the scouting report. We still got plenty of
Yeah.
games to play. But what are some examples just earlier in your career maybe that you really added?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say last year the big difference maker was my changeup. And so like in the fall, I kid you not, there would be days where we would scrimmage and practice and Megan would make me throw only changeups. And it was awful. But I like there was times where I was like, Megan, I hate you. Actually. But it made me so much better. And I like told myself too, I was like, I am gonna learn to love this pitch more than I love my hard stuff. And it also worked
Yeah,
out. So we're just having that same mentality this year for a little secret.
I'm excited. I mean, obviously we have some
Yeah.
games in the books, but so much more to come. So I can't
Yeah.
wait to see.
Yeah. And it can be like the most minor thing too. Like it doesn't have to be a huge difference maker to your game. It can just be something different.
Totally. I think that's a really good call out too, especially for young girls where it's like you don't have to change everything about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just adjustments.
Right. Please don't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think it's pretty cool that you have these aspirations to continue playing even beyond just your career at Tennessee. Such a unique
Mhm.
instance of you signing the first NIL deal with the AUSL too, with the Pro League. I think I've read too that you didn't necessarily think about going pro when you were younger, but now, okay, here it is. It feels a little bit more real. So what has it been like to kind of
Yeah.
realize, okay, yeah, wow, this is an opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like the pro really just like started taking off here recently in my years of college, honestly, like with the AU. And I think just honestly getting to see the players that like were in college, that I played against now going to that next level, I think that's what kind of like opened my eyes to see that, okay, like I want to do that. Like that seems so cool. And the AUSL, like it's so awesome, just like all of the how they've grown so quickly with 4 teams starting out. Now they have 6 teams with their own home cities and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for what's to come.
Obviously, the Carolina Blaze. Looking back, kind of more close to your hometown team, closest as it will be. They
Hmm.
have, they're supposed to have the first pick in the college draft for the
Hmm.
AUSL. And let's not get ahead of ourselves too much, right? But at the same time, if
Yeah,
if that were to work out, how do you think you would react if your name was called?
that would be honestly just like ideal situation. I think it would be awesome. Yeah, getting to play in my home state, with all the people there to support me, and then and Aubrey Leach too. She's our getting to play with her. I think that would be amazing. And I know a few other girls that are on that team, and it would be quite the roster we'd have there.
Okay, I love how you're immediately like, we'd be such a good team. Like you have the emotional
Yeah, I'm
tie
like,
too, but like also you're like softball.
yeah. Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, and I grew up like going to Duke camps and stuff like that. So right near Durham and everything. My mom actually, I think she was more of a Carolina fan. She liked
Oh,
Jordan, but
who didn't?
um nice ties though. Yeah.
Well, and you're number 23, KP 23. So you could, I don't know if, probably, I don't know if that has
Yeah.
anything to do with it, but we can spin that, right?
It
Okay.
does actually. Yeah, there's actually a funny story with that. So my mom, she kind of gave me number 23 when I first started playing like youth basketball because I think like you had to just like pick a random number and she picked 23 for me and it stuck. And then it was the coolest thing because she picked it after Michael Jordan. And then when I went to play in Australia for the women's national team, I I had just like randomly decided to pick number 9 for my dad because that was his number. And then my mom was like, "You do realize that when Michael Jordan went to play for the USA team, he was number 9." So it was like really like just a coincidence, but super cool story, I thought.
That is super cool. Sometimes it's meant to
Yeah.
be, right? Like, that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because what a cool opportunity. There's nothing quite like representing your country. Um, when you
Yeah.
first put on the red, white, and blue for real to compete down there and everything,
Hmm.
what did that moment feel like?
Yeah, it was so special. I think, that's like putting on that jersey is like just such a full circle moment of like, okay, everything I've done up until this point is like just all like in that, USA across your chest. So I think it was just very rewarding. It was, such a blessing really to be able to play not only, with that uniform on, but also around so many just like elite level athletes. Like it was unlike anything I'd ever like going to college. It's like, okay, girls like they get after it, they're gritty, but like being around all those girls, like it was a different feel. And I think I had such a great learning experience from them, and just it was awesome.
You guys looked like you had so much fun
Yeah.
in Australia too. It just looked like a blast.
Yeah. It was amazing. I got to feed a kangaroo. Yeah.
So cool. So cool. And I mean, hey, it's back in
Yeah.
the Olympics in 2028, which we're all thrilled about. We
Mhm.
waited a long time for Tokyo, and then we waited again, and it'll be back.
Yeah.
So I know you want to play professionally. Is that something that you're also shooting for?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the number one goal on my bucket list is to compete in the 2028 Olympics. So that's just something got to keep working. And again, kind of like with like my senior year, I just always stay present with what I'm doing and just day by day, don't try and put any extra pressure or anything like that. Just
As you
do what I
should.
do.
As you should. It is
Yeah.
that's a balance in itself too, having the goals and not being afraid to say them out loud,
Mhm.
write them down, make them real. But then yeah, you're like, wait a minute, one
Yeah,
thing at a time, day to day. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some boxes that need to be checked before that. So it's like, okay, how can I just go about what I do and keep doing what I'm doing and hopefully everything works
Yeah.
out, you know?
Of course you try to stay present as much as possible, but do you ever kind of step back and realize, oh wow, look, I came from North Carolina. I mentioned in your intro because I felt like it matters where you come from, right? That you were the Gatorade Player of the Year
Yeah.
growing up too. You came from that. You kind of represent that as you go throughout your life, and now you're thinking about the
Yeah.
Olympics. You're thinking about pro, and maybe even a national championship before then, right? Like, does that ever hit you? That perspective?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really cool just to kind of like, especially at the end of a year or something to look back and see everything that you've done. And, but then also like, okay, I've completed those things, but that doesn't, dictate I'm going to get anything this year. So it's like, okay, how can I celebrate what I've done so far, but then also be present and be locked in for what's ahead? And then at the same time, a balance of like being excited for the things that you have accomplished and not just like being so what's the next thing, what's the next thing, because that can be tiring as well. Like you have to give yourself a little bit of credit every once in a while. So and I think that goes back to just like playing this game with joy and like realizing why you start playing this game. You play it because you love it. You play it because you love being with your friends and your parents up in the stands. Like I think if it all comes back to that, everything else just is so much more
Mm,
enjoyable.
so well said. And now I saw that
Yeah.
your high school field is named after you as well. When that whole process happened, was that just such a great
Mhm.
reminder of, oh my gosh, here are my roots, but now I get to pay it forward? I mean, does it get better than that, really?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I think I'm still like processing it all because of how crazy it is to me. But yeah, like it was the most of all the things I've gotten to do and just like rooms I've been in, places I've been, obviously
Of
World Series
course.
is up there, but like getting to go back to my hometown and just like packed gym, like everyone in there celebrate me and support me. It was just like because obviously I see the comments on Facebook and people supporting me from back home, our local news and stuff. But like to just see everyone there and just so happy for me and supporting me, like those are the people that they were supporting me well before, the accolades I have now. Like they were wanting me to go out and chase all my dreams at the ripe age of like 12. So it's just such a rewarding feeling to have their support and just like them be so just happy for me.
Nothing quite like it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely true. Even when you get on the biggest stages under the brightest lights, you're like, well, I remember like those quiet days, when I was coming up
Mhm.
and the support that you had. I just love to see that.
Yeah,
And also,
definitely.
you were inspired by Jennie Finch and others, right? And so now people playing on the field can literally see your name and be inspired by you too.
Yeah.
Do you consider it paying it forward or giving back?
Oh,
Yeah.
paying it forward for sure. I would say like I hope that everyone that steps on that field is feeling the same amount of support that I felt whenever I played there, and the same like community just driven like just we're such a close knit community. I think Weaverville is, and I just want everyone that steps on that field to not only feel like they can dream big and go chase their dreams, but also feel that support from everyone, just like I did when I came through.
I like that you represent for the tall girls too. You know,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Yes, the tall girl community.
Yeah, you're 6'1", is that right? You're over 6 feet. I know that.
Yeah, 6'1".
See, being able to play
Yeah.
sports, multiple sports, I love that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've had a lot of just like DMs or even just at camps and stuff where, moms will come up to me and be like, "My daughter is so tall and she looks at you and it inspires her," or whatever it may be. And I think it's cool because like when I was younger, I had my jeans were too short. I was a little, yeah, like lanky, long, like I looked like a baby giraffe out there at the time. And I do think like because my mom is very tall as well, but let me tell you, she would show up and wear like 4-inch heels. So like she'd be towering over my dad and she like loved it. And I think that's what made me feel like, oh, being tall is awesome. Like I'm going to show up and be the tallest girl in the room. So I hope if I can do that as well for someone like my mom did for me, then that's a cool
I
feeling.
love when tall women wear heels because I think it's such a
Yeah.
sign of confidence, like you said, like with your mom. So I love to hear
Yes.
that. And it makes sense. I'm like, okay, I'm putting together how you came to be how you are, right, with your family.
Yeah. Yep. My dad's 6 foot, my mom's 6 foot. So like she'd walk out of the house in heels and my dad, he's like,
Yeah.
"Yep, that's mine." Like he wouldn't even care
See,
either.
that's the thing. He gets it too. So there you go.
Yeah, he gets it too. Everyone
Yes,
gets
yes.
it.
I just think that's so fun because as women sometimes we feel like we have to make ourselves smaller, both literally and figuratively. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to take up so much space. But I love when I see people who
Yeah.
aren't afraid to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something you kind of have to learn to do as well. Like it's not always the easiest thing, especially, like growing up being always the tallest person, but you kind of start to it may feel like a burden at first, but then it's like, oh, I actually really like
Mhm.
being the tallest one. Like it gives me like, an upper
Yeah,
hand in
I
a way.
mean, kind of literally too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No pun
and
intended,
then
but
it doesn't hurt for you to have long levers when you pitch. I mean, come on, you know.
yeah, I mean, God give me these legs and arms for a reason. I think that has to do with
Well,
it.
and that's the thing too. You throwing the ball so hard. I think about it's like your mechanics have to be on point, right? For that, it's not just like
Hmm.
pure strength. I mean, of course, you're strong too,
Right.
but you have to be. And I think Monica Abbott even has talked about this about you in particular too, since you broke her record and everything. She's like, there's so much that
Hmm.
goes into that to like make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I even catch myself sometimes wondering like, so what is it exactly that like allows me to throw hard? Because like you said, like I think for the longest time I always thought when I was younger and stuff, I threw really hard because my arms were so long and I was just super whippy. And so I do think that like my levers, how tall I am, is definitely a factor. But then, like you said, also it's like the timing and mechanics. Everything has to be like right in sequence for everything
That's how you
to be
use it
right.
too. How you use what God
Hmm.
gave you,
Yeah.
which is great, but what are you going to do with it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, I
Definitely.
think it's really great what you're doing just in terms of competing at such a high level and the relationships that you have and that you cherish in the softball community. But then,
Mhm.
also what you want to do in a bigger picture sense with young girls
Mhm.
and just inspiring people. I think that's like that extra special layer to it. And you've touched
Yeah.
on different things that you do want to tell young girls and just people in general. But what do you feel like you hope is okay? This
Mhm.
is the main message that people pick up from me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, and this is the message that was so powerful for me in my career, which is the playing with joy. And my dad, it kind of roots from him because he would always say, play like a 10-year-old little girl, play like 10-year-old Karlyn that would be out there on the field, and I've said this a million times, like doing cartwheels, not a care in the world. So I think it's like being able to find that balance of like playing with that true inner joy that you started with the game, and now we add that competitive piece to it, and it's like you're unstoppable. Like if no one can phase you because you're just like, I love this game, I love my teammates, I'm gonna like do everything I can to compete and win, then it's a pretty amazing thing when all of that comes together.
Such a good message.
Yeah.
Before I do let you go, I play a game with everybody who comes on the show. It's called Safer Out. So Kiki, Monica,
Okay.
they both played this too. Basically, I'll bring up a topic, and then if you like it or you agree with it, you call it safe, and if not, then you call it out. Yeah. So instead
Okay,
of
fun. Cool.
throwing the pitches, and you get to make the calls like an umpire for once.
Nice.
Right.
Always
Exactly.
wanted to do
Wouldn't
this.
that be nice? All right. The first one is pitchers tossing the ball underhand over to first base instead of overhand. Safer out.
Oh, safe. Yeah,
Well,
I do that.
And it is a thing. You're throwing underhand all game long, all day long. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, well, if the ball also, like, if it leads you there, it's usually quicker to just like toss it over there than to stop and then risk throwing it into the right field.
Have you experienced that before? We were like, whoa, this feels weird to throw it overhand after all of this.
Yes, I have. And usually I know exactly what I do wrong when I do it. It's because I'll get so excited to throw it over there and I won't like center my feet and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely too as a pitcher, like when you feel the ball right back to you, you're kind of like, whoa, here we go. And then you're like rush to throw it when you're like, okay, I have plenty of time. I don't need to
But you're just
to rush. But
yeah, you want the
safe.
out, right? Like that's you're wired for that as
Yeah.
a pitcher.
Yeah, for sure.
Funny. That's really funny. Okay, that was the first one. Second one, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'll ask it anyway for the record. Rosin bags, safer out.
Yeah, safe. I use my rosin. I don't particularly like the sticky towels, so I like my hand to be nice and like dry in a way. It's funny the way I describe it. Everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" But it's like a specific way that I like my hand to feel, and it's not sticky. It's more just like dry and like I guess rough is the best way to describe it.
I think I get what you mean, and also it just only matters that you know what you mean.
Yeah, truly. Yeah.
All right, that was the second one. Last one is bat flips. Safer out.
Safe. Because I think that just is, I feel like a bat flip is the same correlation as like celebrating like a strikeout. Like I am all for celebrations, and I think that's just like that's what softball makes it like. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun to watch. Is like when you're having fun, your bat flips, celebrating, and it also fires up the opposing team. Like how lame would it be if you hit a home run and then you just set your bat on the ground?
True. Pitchers are so evolved now.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Some of the more old school pitchers, let's say that I'll have on, are like, "Oh, absolutely not! Like, no way!" Like, actually, it was funny when I asked Monica this question. She was like, "They wouldn't bat flip on me. No, they wouldn't do it." I was like, "Oh, okay." It was actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm all for it. I love a little competitive fire. So
I mean, even I know we've mentioned Monica. You mentioned Aubrey Leach. Like, what a cool. Just now that I'm thinking through this more, just a cool way to have that community, just that alumni community, as well as just the Lady Vols in a general sense. I love seeing the support. Aubrey's obviously still involved with the team, but I know Monica's been supportive of you too, so that must be a nice feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And the two that come to mind too that I feel like were so impactful for me was my freshman year, our senior class. Ashley Rogers, and then Kiki Malloy. She was her 5th year, but she like those two were just like such great leaders for me, and like watching them compete, it was like, okay, like that's how they take care of business. All right.
Yeah. So you're like, all right, Kiki, yes, I'm gonna get fired up for if you're gonna bat flip, sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I mean, I really, it was great as I knew it would be, but also like you're in the thick of everything. And it's such an interesting time. So
Yeah.
I'm wishing you the best of luck and for you to be, those seniors, like those seniors that helped you for your team. I know you are and will be.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
It's awesome to have Karlyn on the show. I mean, not just because of her talent, but her mindset and how she approaches the game. I think there's so much that we can all learn from her. And Karlyn is already one of the faces of the game at the collegiate level. I'm excited to see the rest of her senior year, of course, but hopefully a long career after that. So, with that, let's bring it home. You've been listening to Bleav in Softball, part of Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. The show is available anywhere you get your podcasts, wherever you listen, including Bleav.com and YouTube, too. Subscribe to the show, rate the show, and if you liked it, write a review. Follow us on X and Instagram at Bleav in Softball. Again, that's BLEAV. And you can reach out to me personally on X at JennaBecerra01 and Instagram at JennaBecerra as well. Keep catching new episodes every other week this season. Thank you for tuning into this one, and we'll catch you soon.